All right, so the cooler weather is finally here. In most of the United States, most people are kind of getting prepared for the winter time. So as a result of that, a lot of people are also wearing, more of their sort of cooler weather types of scents. So what I have here today is going to be a top 20 list of the sort of more cooler weather, winter weather style fragrances that I have in my collection. All of these are inspired fragrances. Most of them are going to be from, Middle Eastern houses. And actually, only one of these is an original fragrance now that I'm looking at it. So most of them are going to be inspired, but one is an original. So just to get started, make sure that this video doesn't end up being super long. I'm going to start the list off with Fragrance World's Hartnell. So Hartnell is going to be Fragrance World's take on Parfums de Marly's Hautaine. And this fragrance, when I first got it, I can say that this was definitely more heavier on like the saffron note that you get in Hautaine. And while it is still a little bit heavier on that note, it has started to become a lot closer to, the original Hautaine than, what it was when I first got it. And I mean, Hautaine, if you're not familiar with the way that smells, it smells a lot like Oud for Greatness, but it's just not as heavy on like the lavender in that fragrance. And it's got more of like a sweeter, lighter sort of tone to the fragrance. So this one has notes like praline in it, which kind of adds like this really light, smooth sort of sweetness that you get in the dry down. I think overall this one is just the more sort of mass appealing type of fragrance. And this also does perform really, really nicely. I easily get over 12 hours of longevity with this, with really good projection for about the first hour and a half. So again, if you're a fan of Hautaine, then definitely check out Fragrance World's Hartnell. Next one on the list is going to be Deux from Paris Corner. It's part of their North Stag Expressions line. And this so far has definitely been the best Parfums de Marly latent clone or inspired fragrance that I've smelled. So the quality on this is actually very good. This does smell a lot like the current formulations of Parfums de Marly's latent. So it's not going to be like super beast mode and heavy like the old formulations supposedly were. But this does still give you very good longevity. It sticks on my skin at least for like it sticks on my skin for at least, past 10 to 12 hours or so. And then for like the first probably hour and a half or so, you're getting like kind of moderate projection, not super beast mode at all, but definitely moderate projection. And this is a very just mass appealing apple, lavender, cardamom. You're getting some vanilla in this. This overall, man, it's a very, very mass appealing winter, fall time type of fragrance for sure. Really, really enjoy this one a lot, man. So if you're a fan of latent and you're looking for a solid interpretation of it, then this is definitely the one that I recommend now over Dusk. And again, this is going to be Deux from Paris Corner. Next one on the list, this is going to be from Swiss Arabian, and this is Shaghaf Oud Azraq. So this fragrance is actually like an inspired fragrance of, I believe it's Montal's, Vanille En Oud, I believe is what it's called. And with this one, you're going to get like a really, really huge blast of honey in the opening with this. Honey and oud, basically, like a really, really sort of fecal animalic sort of oud. And that fecal animalic oud, that does definitely carry through at least like the first, I don't know, probably hour and a half or so of the fragrance. And then after that, the honey note definitely still remains, and that does add like a really sort of sweet element to the fragrance. But then after that, you start getting into a lot of spices, a lot of woodier aspects, vanilla, stuff like that. This is just a very delicious, but yet at the same time, really kind of like high class really sophisticated style scent, in my opinion. It's not necessarily one that you would necessarily wear in like super casual situations, I feel like. But you know, you absolutely could if you know if that's what you feel comfortable doing. But I do think that this is definitely more of sort of like a upper skill, more higher end style of scent for the most part. This also does perform really, really good. So the projection on this is going to be super beast mode for probably, I want to say at least the first 2 to 3 hours or so. You know, from what I can remember from this fragrance, and then as far as the longevity goes, it's easily over 12 hours. So performance is not a slouch with this one at all. I haven't smelled this one side by side to the original from what is it, Montal yet. When I initially got this fragrance, I didn't know that it was an inspired fragrance, so that's the main reason why. But either way, man, this does smell very high quality, very upscale. And again, check out Shaghaf Oud Azraq from Swiss Arabian. All right, so another oud based fragrance, or you know, a fragrance that is pretty heavy on oud, it's going to be French Avenue's Azzure Aoud. And this is their take on Oud Maracuja from what is it, Maison Crivelli. And this fragrance is definitely one of my favorite sort of oud scents that I have in my collection. As you all know, if you've been watching this channel for a while, I'm not like the biggest fan of oud scents, but this one definitely is one that I can appreciate a lot, man. I really love the really sort of fresh, fruity passion fruit opening that you get with this. Obviously, the passion fruit in the original from Maison Crivelli is going to smell a lot more higher quality than what this does. But at the same time, this does still have some really good quality to it. And, you know, the performance is also very good as well. So this is going to be pretty beast mode, just like the original. I think the original does project a little bit more than what this does. But yeah, this does project pretty well, at least for I would say probably the first 2 hours or so, 2.5 hours. And then the longevity on this is easily over 12 hours. And, you know, for the most part, like I said, you're getting a lot of passion fruit in the opening with this, mixed with oud as well. So, you know, it does kind of come off as sort of like a slightly kind of over ripened or rotten type of smell, you could say. But I really do like the way that this smells. After you kind of get through that sort of super fruity opening, then you start to get a really nice mixture of oud. I believe there's also some rose in this fragrance as well. So it's definitely a oud rose kind of leathery type of smell in the dry down. That's also very smoky as well. So this is definitely, to me, a very sort of masculine style, you know, oud rose, you know, sort of fruity type of scent. But again, overall, I really love the way that this smells. And again, this is Azzure Aoud from French Avenue. Next one on the list is from Lattafa. This is Lattafa's Afkaar. So Afkaar is going to be their take on, what is it? Instant Crush from Mancera. So this is like almost identical to Instant Crush. I mean, really, the only difference that I really got from this was, number one, it was slightly stronger in terms of the projection than what Instant Crush was. And definitely in the opening for a little while, you do get a heavier emphasis on the mandarin orange that's in the top notes of Instant Crush. So that is a little bit more prominent in this fragrance. Overall, outside of those differences, the two fragrances basically smell about the same for the most part. And I mean, this is only a fraction of the cost. I believe this normally goes for about $30-ish or so, whereas I believe Instant Crush is normally more kind of like around that, normally $85 to $100 mark or so for like a 120 ml bottle. This one is 100 ml. But yeah, man, this is very, very good, man. The quality on this is just as good as far as what I can tell as the Mancera. And again, it does perform slightly better. And I do actually like the smell slightly better on this one as well. So if you're into, you know, that instant crush scent profile, which is basically like a fruitier, I would say lighter version of Baccarat Rouge 540, then you'll like this one. And again, this is going to be Lattafa's Afkaar. Next one on the list, this is going to be the first 100 ml bottle that I actually bought from Alexandria Fragrances. And this is their take on Xerjoff's Naxos, and this is 1981X from Alexandria Fragrances. So this is one of my favorite sort of cooler weather wintertime style scents. I really love the way that the honey and the bergamot is done in this fragrance. So this is like a really heavy dose of honey, bergamot, tobacco. There are definitely some florals in this as well. Just overall, I really like the way that this is done. This also has a very heavy emphasis on lavender as well. So, I mean, if you like those types of notes, then I definitely think that you'll like something like 1981X. This also like projects like crazy, at least for like the first 3 or 4 hours or so. 3 or 4 hours of, you know, really, really huge projection. And then after that, I mean, the longevity is going to be until you wash it off for the most part. Or, you know, if you spray this on your clothes, it's going to be until you wash the clothes. Definitely, if you're spraying it on clothes, obviously be mindful of the fact that this is pretty dark juice. So this can definitely stain your clothes. But this is definitely one of Alexandria's best fragrances that they have on their roster. And I mean, they really have a lot of really good interpretations, but this is definitely one of my favorites for sure. Definitely one that I plan on keeping in my, collection for as long as possible. So again, check out 1981X from Alexandria Fragrances. Next one is going to be interpretation of, YSL's Tuxedo, and this is Fragrance World Suits. So obviously you have this, you have the Maison Alhambra, the Tux, which I believe they changed the name on that one now. This one to me is the best one. Now it doesn't have as good of an opening, you could say, as something like the Tux. The Tux is a little bit more, accurate to the original fragrance in terms of how it handles like the spices and like the peppers in the, the original Tuxedo. But where this one really shines is in the dry down once you start to get to, the patchouli, the vanilla, the more kind of earthier aspects of the fragrance. That's where this one really shines. And this did actually perform better than the original Tuxedo did on my skin. I got really, really good longevity out of this one, easily over 12 hours. And then it gave slightly better projection after that initial sort of projection period. So like after that first sort of hour and a half or so, this did seem to be stronger than what Tuxedo was on my skin. And this is just like the perfect sort of winter and fall time, really kind of spicy, vanillic, kind of, you could say almost sort of balsamic type of scent. It's a really, really nice scent, man. It is marketed as a unisex type of scent, but in my opinion, it is like the perfect scent for a man. So I recommend that everyone have this in their sort of repertoire as far as the scent profile goes. And if you're looking for the best interpretation of Tuxedo, this is going to be the one in my opinion. So check out Fragrance World Suits. Next one on the list, this is Al Haramain's Amber Oud Dubai Night. So this is their take on Montal's Arabian's Tonka. And this one actually I like a little bit more than Arabian's Tonka. This is going to be slightly more on the fresher side than what Arabian's Tonka is. That one is definitely a little bit more denser than this. This just is a little bit more versatile in my opinion. You do have to like rose. You have to like oud, and you do have to like slightly kind of sweeter scents as well, because this definitely has a really, really heavy sort of sweetness to it. I think there's like sugar notes within the note breakdown of this one. So it is going to be a sweeter fragrance, but it's not sweet to the point where it comes off as being like a feminine scent. Not, at least in my opinion anyway. So this one, I would say this is going to be best worn if you're going to like an event outside. If you're wearing this one inside, I do think that you definitely have to watch how many times you spray this, because the projection on this is going to be just as strong as what the original is, and the longevity is also going to be easily over 12 hours. So this is not going to be a weak scent at all. So if you like those type of long lasting, kind of oud rose type of scents that have, like a sort of fruity kind of undertone to them, also this does have obviously tonka bean in the fragrance as well. So tonka bean and vanilla, I believe. So it does have really sort of sweet aspects to the fragrance. You do again have to like those, but I think if you are into those types of fragrances, this is a very nice one to have in your collection. Very affordable, performs good, just an overall good value. Again, this is Al Haramain's Amber Oud Dubai Night. Next one is going to be from French Avenue, and this is their take on Boss Bottled Intense EDP, and this is Pinnace Noir. So this is, really one of the only options that you really have when it comes to getting a Boss Bottle Intense EDP, experience, other than overpaying for the original. Or there is another fragrance, I believe it's from Fragrance World, but from their lower tier line. I believe it's from their Azzure Aoud line. I can't remember what the name of that fragrance is at the moment, but this one to me did smell slightly higher quality, but not so much to the point where it necessarily justifies the price difference, at least that the price difference was when I purchased the two fragrances. This one I believe was like around $15 more than what the cheaper one was. And other than a slightly more heavier kind of like alcohol blast that you get in the opening of the Azzure Aoud version, it wasn't really that much of a difference. This did smell slightly better blended, but not to the point where it smelled like $15 more better blended, but this was the one that I chose to keep. And again, this is a very, very nice fragrance. So it's not going to be the most beast mode projecting scent. It's a very kind of personal, kind of close to your skin, apple cinnamon type of scent for the most part. So it is going to be very kind of winter and fall centric, but it does last on your skin, a pretty long time, easily over 8 hours. So if you're into that sort of scent profile, especially during this time of the year, then I would definitely say Pinnace Noir is one to check out, again, from French Avenue. Next one on the list, this one is the only, original fragrance that I actually have on the list. As far as what I can tell, this is, again, a discontinued fragrance that was just momentarily kind of re-released. And this is going to be Mahogany Woods from Bath and Body Works. So this is a very, very nice ambery, vanillic, woody, almost slightly kind of boozy smelling type of scent, man. I definitely understand why there's been so much hype around this fragrance. This scent profile just in general is a very nice scent to wear during this time of the year. I think, overall, you could definitely wear this any time of the year, especially if you're inside. But this definitely is one of those types of fragrances that you would absolutely want to reach for when it gets cooler outside. It does last a pretty long time on my skin, easily over 8 hours. And the projection on this was definitely better than what I got with the Fragrance World Hardwood. So I would say if you can find a bottle of this and it's not any more than like $40 or $50, then I would definitely say pick this up. I do think that I've seen this on eBay now, like these bottles, especially the re-release bottles. I think I've seen these on eBay going for like around $40 to $50 or so. So, I mean, I think at that price, it is worth it. Now, anything over that, especially if we're talking about over $100, I don't necessarily think it's worth it. I think, if it gets to that point where that's all you can find is these fragrances over $100, then just go with Fragrance World Hardwood. But overall, man, I really do love the way that this fragrance smells, and it is definitely a wintertime staple. So again, check out Bath and Body Works Mahogany Woods. Next one is a very popular fragrance from Lattafa, and this is Lattafa's Khamrah Qahwa. So obviously you have the original Khamrah, and then you have this one, Khamrah Qahwa. I believe this one was released last year, and this is to me the best of the sort of Khamrah fragrances that have come out so far. This one is still going to be a sweet fragrance for sure. So if you don't like sweet fragrances, then I would say absolutely still, avoid this fragrance. But this is going to be slightly less sweet than what the original Khamrah is. It has notes like cardamom in it and coffee as well, which are definitely prominent in the fragrance. Definitely more so the cardamom than the coffee. The coffee is, to me, more of kind of like a background note, but the cardamom is definitely a little bit more prominent, and it adds a sort of fresh, spicy aspect to the fragrance, which also kind of makes this one a slightly more masculine take on the overall sort of Khamrah scent profile. So I really think that they did a good job with this one. This one does perform just as good as the original Khamrah does. So you are going to get pretty good projection for about the first 2.5 hours or so. And then this is easily going to last, at least on my skin anyway, over 12 hours. So if you're a fan of the Khamrah scent profile, but maybe you're looking for something a little bit less sweet and a little bit more maybe masculine, then I would say check out Khamrah Qahwa from Lattafa. Next one on the list, this is another one from Lattafa, and this is Lattafa's Qaed Intense. So this is their take on Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privé. And I mean, although the Givenchy, that one definitely, it has a slightly better blend to it. It's, higher quality. I do think that that one comes off as being a little bit more boozy in the opening. This, especially once you kind of let it sit, this is a very good value, and it's extremely close, at least, to me anyway, to the original, Givenchy fragrance. So it's going to be in the same realm as something like Dior Homme Intense. So you are going to get that really kind of like powdery iris sort of feel from the fragrance. But the difference with this one is this to me comes off as more woodier, and it definitely, the scent profile comes off as boozier for sure than something like Dior Homme Intense or like Cayenne Classic. Now, do I think that it's redundant to own something like this in Cayenne Classic? Yeah, I do. So I would say, if you have one fragrance, whether it's the Qaed Intense or the Cayenne Classic, I don't think it makes sense for you to go out and purchase the other. Again, there are going to be some slight differences. This is definitely going to be a little bit more boozier than what the Cayenne Classic will be. But overall, they're still kind of like within the same sort of scent family. And it just doesn't make sense really to have both. Unless you just are really crazy about that scent profile anyway. So, again, man, performance on this one is pretty solid. Like I said, the quality on it is just not as good as the Givenchy is, but I mean, it's really not by that much. So definitely, if you're looking for Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privé on a really tight budget, then this is definitely a good value for you to pick up. And again, this is Lattafa's Qaed Intense. Next one is from Maison Alhambra, and this is their take on Dior's Tabacular. This is Maison Alhambra's Tabac. So this is now going by a different name, I believe. A lot of the Maison Alhambra, scents that, were made to look like the original fragrances and had similar names. For the most part, all of those have kind of changed their name, and even some of them, like the Tom Ford ones, have changed the entire bottle style. But this is a very, very good interpretation of Dior's Tabacular. A little bit more earthier for sure than what Tabacular is. To me, Tabacular was a little bit more heavier on that really sweet honey note. At least for like probably the first, I don't know, maybe 30-45 minutes or so. But after that, like once you start to get kind of into the dry down of the fragrance, it does smell like a lot like Dior's Tabacular. It really does. This is, to me, one of the best sort of Maison Alhambra interpretations that they've put out for sure. And I mean, it doesn't really make me want to go out and buy a full bottle of Dior's Tabacular. Even though the Dior Tabacular, it does have a better blend to it. And, like I said, the opening is a little bit more smoother. You get, heavier emphasis on that honey. So it does come off as a little bit sweeter. I still think that overall, this is a very good interpretation of the scent, and it also performs really good as well. So this is easily going to be over 12 hours for sure. You could just basically say this is going to be on you until you wash it off. And you really have to be careful with how many times you spray this, because this can become super cloying if you spray it more than about 4 to 5 times. I mean, like headache inducing, in terms of how cloying it can be. So definitely be careful with that. But if you're a fan of the scent profile, then I absolutely would recommend taking a look at Tabac from Maison Alhambra. Next one is another one from French Avenue. This one is easily, I would say, one of their best releases ever. This is their take on Angel Share by Kilian, and this is Royal Blend. So this is going to be, at least from what I can tell, the closest thing to like a 1-to-1 that I've smelled to Angel Share. And as a matter of fact, this actually, it performs better than Angel Share in terms of the projection, in terms of the longevity. This is a little bit better than Angel Share in both of those categories. And Angel Share is definitely, it's not a weak fragrance by any means. But this just does it a little bit better, and it still maintains the same sort of quality that you get from the by Kilian. So this is absolutely one that I plan to keep in my collection for forever, for the most part, or as long as they produce this fragrance. Hopefully it doesn't get watered down or reformulated or anything like that, but this is really, really good. And I would say I would recommend this one to anyone looking for, like the best sort of Angel Share interpretation. It's better than the Alexandria version that I've smelled. It's better than the Zoha Aroma version that I've smelled. I want to say I can't remember if I smelled the Sensual Obsessions version. I think I might have smelled their version. It's better than that. This is just better. Now, I haven't smelled I think it's called Montage, something like that, Cocktail Intense, something. I can't remember the exact name of it. I know a lot of people bring that fragrance up in the comments whenever I kind of mention this one. Haven't smelled that one, but at least so far, out of all of the Angel Share interpretations that I've smelled, and trust me, there have been a lot, this is easily the best one. So check out French Avenue's Royal Blend. Next one on the list is Tobacco Myth from Fragrance World, and this is their take on Carolina Herrera's Mystery Tobacco. One of the best interpretations that I've smelled, probably I would say really the best interpretation that I've smelled. Maison Alhambra has their version as well. It's definitely not as smooth as this is. And I mean, even this isn't as smooth as what the original fragrance is, but it's very close. And it is, hands down better quality than what the Mason Alhambra is. This is just a really smooth, sweet tobacco. Definitely has some earthy elements to it as well, some spices, some vanilla. This is just a really grown up, sophisticated, just really, really nice scent, man. This is one of the best tobacco scents that I've smelled. It's going to be in that same sort of vein as something like Parfums from Marley's Carlisle or Mancera's Red Tobacco. It's going to be in that same vein of fragrances, but at least for me anyway, this is like the best of that scent profile is the Carolina Herrera Mystery Tobacco. So if you don't have the money for private line Carolina Herrera fragrances, then this is absolutely the fragrance that I would recommend that you pick up if you like that mystery tobacco scent profile. Otherwise, if you have the money, then I do think that purchasing the original fragrance is worth, purchasing over the interpretation here. But, again, this is definitely going to be for the people who are more on a tighter budget that can actually find this fragrance in stock, so that's the other thing as well. This does stay out of stock for the most part everywhere. So if you ever do find this in stock anywhere, absolutely scoop it up, because who knows when you'll be able to get it again. All right. So again, check out Tobacco Myth from Fragrance World. All right, another one from French Avenue. This is their take on Initial Side Effect, and this is After Effect from French Avenue. And After Effect is, at least so far anyway, from what I've smelled, definitely one of the best. Now, I will say that I think the best one probably that I've smelled in terms of quality and in terms of accuracy was the Genre Parfums version of Side Effect. That one to me, I think, really recreated the Side Effect scent profile the best. My only issue with that fragrance is it just didn't really project that well on my skin. So, I mean, I think if that one really projected, especially the way that this does, then I think that one would easily be like the best one. But because this one projects a lot better than that, than what the Genre Parfums version does, then I will say that this is definitely the best one that I've smelled for sure. And it lasts a long time as well. So, and you're easily going to get over 12 hours with this one. Heavy projection for about the first, 3+ hours or so. And this is just a really boozy, spicy, tobacco. And I don't know if there's like cherry in this or something like that. But it's tobacco, it's vanilla, it's rum. Just I believe cinnamon is in it as well, or something like that, some sort of spice. It's a very nice, boozy, sexy, kind of wintertime, nighttime type of scent, in my opinion. So if you're into Side Effect and you're looking for, the best sort of cheap alternative to it, then I absolutely recommend After Effect from French Avenue. So next one on the list is basically, it's a twist of Dior's, Sauvage Elixir. And this is Lattafa's Asad. So this is a very popular, viral, kind of TikTok fragrance that really, really got popular. And, I can understand why. This does smell a lot like, Sauvage Elixir for sure. It's just not as heavy on the licorice note. It's also not as strong as what Sauvage Elixir is. And in the dry down, this is going to be much heavier on vanilla. So I think that's kind of what makes this one as mass appealing as what it is that vanilla that you get in the dry down of this one is very creamy, very nice smelling. And I mean, I could really see some people enjoying this one a little bit more than what they would, Sauvage Elixir. Also, this one is very cheap as well. So, I mean, it typically goes for about $30 or so for this 100 ml, whereas Sauvage Elixir for 100 ml, I don't know what the price is right now, but I'm pretty sure it's like 200 or more. So, you know, this is at least about 85 to 90% or so, you know, Sauvage Elixir, probably closer to 85. And it's only a fraction of the cost. So this is definitely, it's a good pick for the summer, for the cooler winter months for sure. You do have to like that kind of, you know, barbershop sort of fougere type of smell, because that's basically how this one comes across. It does have the original sort of Sauvage DNA in it, but it is definitely a little bit more further removed than what the EDT, EDP, or even the Parfum are. But yeah, man, this is basically, it's like a mature, more grown up version of the Sauvage scent profile. So definitely, man, check out Lattafa's Asad. Next one on the list, this one is going to be from Paris Corner, and this is their take on YSL's Baby Cat, and this is Rifaaqat. So Rifaaqat, this is one of the better, more affordable interpretations of YSL's Baby Cat. To me, it's not the closest one. You know, definitely when I smelled this side by side with Baby Cat and Alexandria's Tomcat, Tomcat was, you know, easily closer to the YSL. But I actually prefer the way that this one is done a little bit more. Really, really love the way that the vanilla is done in this fragrance. You know, in the dry down, the vanilla just comes out a little bit more in this one. It adds a really nice sort of creamy, sexy aspect to the fragrance. And I believe this one was also, I think, a little bit smokier and spicier, like more peppery or so, I believe, than what the Baby Cat was. Or it might have been the other way around. I can't remember. I'll have to, you know, smell this side by side with Baby Cat again. But this fragrance, man, overall, I think I gave this one about an 85% close or so rating to YSL's Baby Cat. And I mean, that's close enough, at least for me. Baby Cat seems like it's getting a little bit easier to find, at least here now in the United States, but it still goes for well over $200. And I mean, for the scent profile, it's not the most versatile scent profile. You know, it's very sort of incensey and smoky, with a lot of vanilla, a lot of, you know, I believe it's olibanum, incense and stuff like that. Like, it's definitely going to be a more kind of wintertime style scent, but it's a very addictive sort of wintertime, smoky, vanilla type of scent for sure. So if you're into that YSL Baby Cat scent profile, I absolutely would recommend Rifaaqat. Longevity on this one is easily over 8 hours, and it gives you really nice projection, at least for about the first 2 hours or so. So check out Rifaaqat from Paris Corner. Next one from French Avenue. This one is going to be Liquid Brun. This is their take on Parfums de Marly's, Altair. And this is one of my favorite fragrances that I purchased this year from French Avenue. Extremely close to Altair, and this performs really nicely as well. If you spray this on clothes, it's going to stay on the clothes until you wash them easily. And on skin, this lasts on my skin easily over 12 hours. It also projects very nicely as well. At least for me, it does project a little bit better when I spray this on clothes as opposed to skin. But even on skin, it projects really nicely for about the first hour and a half or 2 hours or so. And then it does dial back a little bit, but it sticks around for a really long time. And this is basically, it's like a fresh, but at the same time spicy sort of, you know, vanilla and orange blossom type of scent. It's just a very unique, you could say more kind of masculine take on like a vanilla scent. So it doesn't come off as like super feminine. I really enjoy this one, and this is definitely one that you'll want to wear when it gets cooler outside for sure. And I mean, it comes over 95% close to Altair. So for a fraction of the cost, man, I really love this one. Again, this is Liquid Brun from French Avenue. And then the last one on the list, this one is another one from Fragrance World. This is their take on Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille, and this is Vanille En Tobacco. So there are some slight differences with this fragrance. This doesn't have like that honey note that Tobacco Vanille has. So it's not going to come off as dense and as thick as what Tobacco Vanille does. But outside of that, really this has everything else that Tobacco Vanille has. So it has the dried fruit smell. It has the cloves. It has the vanilla. It has the tobacco. Smells really high quality, really good blended, or really a really good blend on this fragrance. And the performance is also very good as well. Again, it's not going to be as beast mode as what the original Tobacco Vanille is, because it just really doesn't have that really thick honey note that Tobacco Vanille has. But longevity wise, this does last a pretty long time, easily over 12 hours with this one each time I wear it. And for me anyway, I do prefer this one over the Maison Alhambra version, the Tobacco Touch. This one is just better in my opinion. So I think if you're looking for a really nice interpretation of Tobacco Vanille, and let's say for instance, you're not the craziest about that honey note that's in that fragrance, that note is completely removed really from this one, and you get everything else with this one. And I really do enjoy this one a lot, man. So check out Vanille En Tobacco from Fragrance World. So that is the list. That's my top 20 list of winter sort of cooler weather style scents that I have in my collection. I really plan to wear all of these fragrances a lot this winter season. These are really good choices, I feel like, and definitely let me know in the comments if you all have any or all of these fragrances, and if so, how often do you plan to wear a lot of these fragrances, man? Let me know in the comments. Also, I have links in the description to where you can actually purchase all of these fragrances as long as they're available. And also, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see you on the next video.